So somebody was struggling. Hold on. Let me go into tutorial mode for just a second. So somebody was made a comment on YouTube asking for help with landing on an aircraft carrier. How do you approach a carrier? They're not able to see the carrier deck. They're not able to like hit the wires and whatnot. They just didn't quite understand the process. So what we're gonna do is I gave them some text advice, but what we're gonna do is just kind of demonstrate it real quick in this Corsair here. The reason why the Corsair is considered a very difficult aircraft to do this with is because the pilot sits so far back from the nose that you have this like huge snoot that makes it very difficult for you to see over. Every prop aircraft is going to suffer from that same kind of symptom, but the Corsair tends to suffer from it just a bit more. And so doing a normal straight-in approach on an aircraft carrier can be quite difficult because when you line up with the runway, you can't fucking see it, and you have like no frame of reference to like the ground or anything like that. And the landing area is very small, and the carrier and the landing area is moving away from you, making it even further under your nose as you approach it. So I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. We're going to come in for just a straight-on approach from this carrier. You'll kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about, and then we'll kind of show the way that you can do it to a little bit more safely and keep the aircraft carrier in sight. So, yep, that's why Corsairs do it the way that we're going to show. But let me just demonstrate for this guy what it looks like. Like if I was going to come in here and make a long straight-in approach, like if that was a normal runway, I'd line up like way right about here. I'd get, you know, kind of about center line. You know, and then I'd start setting my glide path down to the runway, and I can't fucking see it. Like, and then the closer I get, the worse this problem is gonna become. And you know, and I'm bringing my fucking gear down, trying to get my flaps down and shit. I've got my head peaked all the way out, and I just can't quite keep the carrier in sight. And it just makes the approach a lot more difficult than it needs to be. But if instead you get set up for landing nice and early, when you're in like, you know, a nice downwind pattern going opposite direction from the carrier. So I got my gear coming out, I got my flaps coming out, we're about 1,000 feet AGL, and we're gonna line up here in the downwind, and I'm fully configured. I've got my speed under control, I got my gear ready to go, and we're gonna make a slow rolling base turn onto the carrier. And instead of like going onto this 90-degree base, I'm going to keep it going, and I'm going to get on, instead of a base turn, we're going to get on a bit of a dogleg approach. Now the carrier's starting to turn, so I'm going to have to extend my dogleg. You can see the carrier's wake, how it's starting to turn like that. But we're going to keep the carrier right there in our left window, and we're going to kind of chase it in the dogleg like this, where we've got good sight lines. And now I'm just worried about my speed. Now I'm just worried about my glide path, and I'm managing my descent with my throttle, watching my speeds, watching my angle of attack. I'm just keeping that carrier right there in that window, just making a slow rolling left dogleg turn onto the carrier the entire time. And then just pull back on the stick all the way, and you hit them cables, and you're good to go.